chain drug review and mass market retailers video forum. Brought to you by the Emerson Group.
Hello everyone, I'm Jeffrey Wold, Editor-in-Chief of Retail Media IQ. Welcome to a special edition of our video forum. Today we're in Boston for the Future of Commerce Initiative, and we're here with one of the presenters, Andy Murray, Executive Chairman of Saatchi and Saatchi X. Andy, great to have you with us.
Thank you, Jeffrey. It's great to be here.
You had a very compelling presentation this morning, and I wonder for our video audience if you might give us a little capsule version of it.
Sure. I was given the challenge of describing what commerce might look like in 2030. And since no one has a true crystal ball, right, that's a pretty daunting task. But I chose to look at it through the lens of Maya, a fictitious shopper, and how the shopper might see that and what would need to be true in the future for her to have a great experience, what's true today, and then what are some action steps that we need to look at as an industry to deal with getting across that gap.
And maybe I should have started with this question. If you could briefly describe your background, because you do have a lot of retail experience.
Sure. Well, I've half my career in big corporate and half an entrepreneur. So 10 years at Procter & Gamble, the last couple calling on Walmart in the Bentonville area, and then 8 years at Walmart, SVP over marketing in the US for 4 years, and Chief Customer Officer of Asta in the UK for 4 years. And then in the middle, building a shopper marketing agency that tried to bring that supplier world and retail world together.
Okay. And Saatchi RX.
That's where we started, yes, back in 1998 to really help understand what motivates shoppers to buy.
Okay. And how successful have you and the industry been in bringing the two sides together?
Oh, I think we've made quite a good progress. Before shopper marketing, it was a lot of like just co-op advertising, and the consumer in the shopper mindset mode really wasn't considered. And so it was a lot of just brand messaging in store, and nothing that really considered, how does she shop or he shop? What is decision-making criteria? What motivates them to buy? And how do you take friction out? And so I think we've taken a lot of friction out over the years.
We've heard a lot, both from you and from other speakers, about how the marketplace is changing, how the consumer is changing. How difficult is it going to be to keep up with all those? And you spoke about the speed of change.
Well, the speed of change, that's the name of the game right now. And there's so many changes happening on different vectors at the same time, which makes this a pretty unique time in history. Not only socioeconomic changes, we've got uncertainty with tariffs and how does that play out? Second half, where is the consumer going on consumer sentiment? And then we've got AI and agentic shopping. And I don't think there's a boardroom out there on any CPG or retail brand that isn't thinking about how is this going to change search and how brands get discovered, how retailers stay relevant.
How would you advise a retailer or a CPG company for that matter to try and deal with all the unknowns around agentic AI and other developments in the industry?
Well, I think the first thing is that to understand is no one knows for certain yet. This is a land where we're crossing the unknown, feeling for the smooth stones under our feet as we cross this river. So it's a bit of an unknown journey. And anytime you've got a lot of unknown, it's important to land on first principles and use first principles as your center point for how you navigate the future. And to me, that is understanding, customers at a deep level. What's the job to be done? How are you showing up? How do you solve their real problems? And so as I spoke about this morning, it's really about getting into and finding customer problems worth solving and staying there versus how can I bring a new idea that's not even relevant.
Would you want to share which retailers and CPG companies you think are doing a good job today at that task?
Well, there's several doing a good job. Sometimes you have to go to the fringe to see them. I think Costco's got a real clear point of view on who they are and what they're about and how they work with suppliers to leverage that ecosystem, and they're quite comfortable with their e-commerce strategy or lack thereof in terms of how they approach it. I think Trader Joe's has got a real clear understanding of the customer experience and what delights and surprises the shopper. I think Walmart has a really good understanding of what convenience is going to mean to shoppers and are building toward that convenience and delivery. So I see bits and bots of really good thinking in a lot of different retailers. It's just a matter of who can put it all together the fastest.
Okay, and I guess that could change pretty quickly today with the technology, and somebody could leapfrog the leaders today.
Well, for sure. I mentioned this in the talk. It was Dr. Stephen Jay Gould, the evolutionary biologist, who studied evolution and found that changes in ecosystems and evolution don't really happen in the center. They happen on the fringe, and that's where you see the big leaps. And I think it's really important to keep our eyes open on what's happening in China, because they've got a fairly advanced understanding of relevance and how you approach relevance. Alibaba's got a 40% more ad load than Amazon, yet the consumer doesn't feel it. And so how are they able to do that? And so they understand relevance at a deeper level. And I think you've got to go out beyond your core center to see some of the changes that are there in order to stay relevant.
How did China get so far ahead of the U.S. in that regard? I mean, obviously retailers from the U.S. have a presence in China, and you'd think they'd be right there with them, watching what the Chinese have done. What's your thinking on that?
Well, it's tough to, you have to understand they have a different infrastructure where you've got an app, a total ecosystem app environment, so you can pay through WePay and the payment system on mobile and how those are all integrated. So they've done a lot of integration layer stuff that may or may not be acceptable in the US, in our culture, but the important thing is not to say, well, what work in China work here. I don't think that's true because it's a different society, different culture around privacy and such. But I think they're onto some things around relevancy that we tend to throw that out with, oh, well, that's just different, when we can really look at some of the things they're doing. They have a couple signals we don't track. So they know what makes something relevant is time of day, very specifically, and where you're at. And you might see something very different at 4 o'clock on a Sunday when you're home than at 2 o'clock on a Wednesday in a coffee shop. Same person, but their experience can be different. And so that's the levels of signal they have around relevance.
It would seem, though, that we could get to that point, right, where someone like, CVS is the focal point here today. They have the Extra Care loyalty card. They should be able to do a good job at tracking that.
Well, you raise a great point, Jeffrey. I think the folks that have that long developed loyalty data, first party data, have a distinct advantage in the future. And I really admire what CVS has from a data standpoint and long history there. It's really a goldmine of opportunity because they kind of know purchase-wise what's relevant to people.
And all retailers, of course, are talking about personalization, right? The Holy Grail.
Right.
How close are we to getting to that Holy Grail, or how close are any of them to that point?
Well, I think we took a big leap forward in personalization with the agentic shopping, the agents, because it's really looking at what's relevant. And that's the first real technology that's put relevance at the forefront because of how it figures out. It knows you, it knows your preferences, and it's able to connect the dots. And so I think it's going to come quite a bit faster with the support of agentic AI type shopping agents that will know your preferences and go find it based on that.
And how are you helping? How is Saatchi and Saatchi X helping retailers get there?
One of the things, for sure, being on the cutting edge of what's happening with agentic shopping, what allows an agent to shop a site, a retailer brand well, and make sure that those are dialed into those agents. But then also keep in mind that we're still human beings. And 85% of the decisions we make in shopping are still based on emotion. We're not logical. We make mistakes. We've got flaws, right? And so you still need to have a group that really goes deeper into the human truths, the emotional things that trigger someone to buy and why they shop from a deep insight standpoint. And that's how we help our customers, our clients.
I see. So you do some human focus groups, those sorts of things, as well as looking at the data? Yes,
we do. We do study the emotional drivers of shopping, and we've studied it for years of what brings joy, what brings satisfaction, what's that moment of delight in a store environment, and is it at the checkout at the end or is it at the beginning? Where are the friction points that drive the negative emotion? Those things are all really important.
A final question for you. You and I were standing next to one another when one of the hosts of a panel asked a trick question, a trap question, and I'm going to ask you that question. Where do you see the market headed in 5 or 10 years? Any predicting? And we won't hold you to it.
Yeah, please don't hold me to it. I think we're going to have to get to a point where this trust issue in agentic AI is solved. Because we're in a weird spot where we're not sure we trust it yet. We don't know how it works, how it makes decisions, but we're going to have to that's going to have to get solved. And I think that's a piece that I suspect in 5 years we won't even be asking that question. That will be there. I do think we're going to see physical retail be much more exciting and energetic. I heard a lot about that this morning around, we've kind of let ourselves create the physical space is not as inspiring as it probably could be. And so I see that coming back where the physical adds a little bit of that human touch. Nicholas Negroponte said the higher the tech, evolution, the higher the importance of human touch. And I think we're going to see, as tech continues to climb, the desire for, people shop for a lot of different reasons, and there is an emotional humanity to that will, I think, manifest into more enjoyable shopping stores where we still have them.
Yeah, and maybe, the technology will free
That's right.
associates to actually interact with
That's
the
right.
customer. Yeah,
Yeah,
which is
100%.
all too rare today.
You should do a prediction. I like that one.
All right, thank you so much for your
Thank
time.
you,
It's
Jeffrey.
great
I
talking to
appreciate
you.
it. Thank you so
Appreciate it.
much.